Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome Masati to the show, and I'm looking forward to this deep and engaging conversation I'm sure we're going to have today. So, just a quick introduction. So, Masati is a system architect and creator of hyper meditations and founder of exponential intelligence meta science. So, welcome to the show today, Masati. I'm glad to have you on here. So, I'm going to ask a bit of a kind of like general question to kind of get to know you, like first of all. But yeah, what is hyper meditations and what is the exponential intelligence meta science?
Sure. Okay, so just back up just a second there, and then we'll understand it more. Johnny, right now, a lot of people they try to do a lot of things, to
Mm,
improve themselves, gain confidence, and so on like that. And
guilty.
I actually, yeah, and actually, I was one of them as well. Because when I was a young kid, in my late teens, early 20s, I'm going, God, what is life is about, right? I want to be successful, but I want to do that spiritual side as well. So, and I really wanted to know, Johnny, and I wanted to know so bad. I think the universe really asked us, like, do you really want to know? It's like, yeah, I really want to know the true answer. Well, that was my first near-death experience. So then that near-death experience allowed me to go, oh shit, that's what we're really about. That's who I remember who I am really about. And that's really the key, Johnny. And if we're talking about, self-esteem, confidence isn't really something you build. It's something that you remember um, you know, when all the distortions of who you think you are is removed, and then your natural intelligence comes back in. So when I had that near-death experience, it just allowed me to see myself outside of my, genetic patterns, hereditary patterns, generational patterns, society's patterns. And I go, oh, that's who we really are. And I think as a kid, we all kind of remember, you can go back to the time when you were a kid and, that confidence was just there. You weren't
Mm,
really good at anything. The only thing you were good at is just being or remembering who you truly are. So that's what I do nowadays. After three near-death experiences, it took me a while, a couple
wow.
knocks on the head, not just once, but yeah, three times. The first near-death allowed me to see the potential of who we are. Second near-death really allowed me to understand the science, which is basically exponential intelligence meta science, and it's a science of all things, hence it's meta. And it explains a lot of theories, even like quantum mechanics, quantum physics, quantum theory, all those theories that have a lot of holes in it. I believe the meta science can explain, and we've actually made good grounds on that. But on the human side, because we're all science, we're all based on science. On the human side, this is where you can create, say, massive amounts of wealth and not feel hollow inside. This is where you don't have to keep proving yourself to have self-esteem. You can just be that, like that young kid that just knows that you're here for a purpose. That's true self-esteem, and that's what I help people get into.
Mm, I love
Yeah,
that. I love
yeah,
that because you think about it when I've heard the example a couple of times, it makes a lot of sense. When you're a baby, you're not like conscious about like people coming to your needs. You're just like, I matter, I exist, I'm a baby, and you're crying, you're getting your needs met and all those kind of things. And
exactly.
yeah, it makes sense. That's kind of a natural.
Yeah, you just know who you are, and
Yeah.
you're confident about it. Right. And as you age, and this is why, most confidence advice fails. I mean, they scratch the surface, but, XI just help you go deeper in that. Right now, confidence really is built on, say, built on affirmations, and it still depends on, say, external approval. If and this is the ratings, even if you're a president, if your confidence rating goes down, and you got to do something to build that up. But real confidence again comes on the inside. And even if you don't like what that person is saying, for example, you still say, you still respect them. And that's true confidence. It's like, well, I might not like the guy, I might not like what he's saying, but I respect that guy because he resonates closely to his, say, higher utmost self or basically he runs or operates from, say, a higher version of who he is, not the physical version.
Mm.
You look at it, Johnny, and there's a lot of high achievers who, or what I call, say, borrowed confidence, right? They collapse under pressure. And then the higher they go, the more they collapse. And this is where a lot of high achievers, like Kate Spade, all those individuals who had massive amounts of success, they had all that confidence, but then they committed suicide because
Mm.
they couldn't they collapsed under pressure, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
So why do those things happen? Right? Because most of us build confidence. If I achieve this, then I should be confident. So I'm just kind of pushing, you and your audience to go, well, wait a second. Why did those people, they had everything. They had beauty, they had grace, they had talent, they had all that stuff, and then they committed suicide. They should have utmost confidence. So we have to move away from, say, external definitions of confidence and move back to, say, the remembrance of who we are. And then if you are, successful, which you should be, if you are have fantastic talent, it enhances and increases who you are even more in this physical reality.
Mm.
Um,
I like
so
this.
yeah, so again, XI exponential intelligence reframes that confidence um, reframes a confidence not as a belief, because if you believe you're confident, then you not really are, but as a frequency coherence. So how, and what that means simply is like, how aligned are you with your purpose of life or your higher self? Simple.
Mm. I love that. Yeah. Can you touch on that a bit more in terms of like
Sure.
the frequency versus like the belief? That I started laughing then and smiling because I actually wrote down the word frequency, then you said it.
Perfect. That's what it is. And I
That's what
think
it is.
yeah, because most people they go, it's a belief system, like Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, Grant Cardone, and all those individuals. Again, they crack the surface, but they didn't go deep. And XI goes, complements them. Even I'm rewriting the book, Think and Grow Rich into Think, Grow
Oh
Rich,
yeah.
and Happy. You know, and that's that. And in one of the chapters is the confidence, self-esteem
Yeah.
chapter in there. So the frequency part is that again, frequency. So this let's talk about the true source of, say, self-esteem, if you will.
Yeah.
So self-esteem isn't developed, it's recovered by deleting false identities of who you are. Okay. So when you're a baby, uh, when you're a kid, you're just naturally confident. You just know who you are. You're limitless. You can do amazing things. But as you age, all these belief systems, oh, honey, you can't do that. You're not good. You fail at school or something like that. And you go, oh, shit, that proves that I'm not good. No, it just proves that it wasn't the right frequency for you, right? You could have been smart and all that. And there are people who are really smart and they still fail and they have no confidence. So again, so we start to remove all those things and go back into who we truly are. And this is where, again, we start to and we do this by deleting all those things that you're not. Okay. All the
Mm.
experience that you failed at, that was, say, opportunities of growth for you if we knew how to do it properly. But a lot of times what people do is like they try something, they fail at something, and then they go, I can't do that anymore. So instead of like going, well, what did I learn from it? Why did I fail? And the reason why most people fail is because they weren't true to their original purpose of why they were here. Simple as that. If you're not true to that original purpose, you'll fail even at success. Success will become a failure for you. Does that make
Mm.
sense? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so this,
Mhm.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so it sounds like it's about staying in touch or trying to understand what's more in alignment with you and the frequency and things that you're not in your frequency, you're going to fail at.
Okay. So let's talk about frequency and like literally define it
Mm.
for you. Okay. So think of it this way, Johnny. There was a, say, master intelligence or a blueprint that created you before you were before you had a single cell, before you had a brain, right?
Hmm.
There had to be a blueprint or again an intelligence level. Okay. Basically
Mm.
a code. out there in the ethers. Now, there's a lot of science behind it. I'm not going to get into science just because of the time, but if you go to the website, the XI code, there's a ton of science behind it. But if you understand that that blueprint, say, resonates or sends out signals, just like Wi-Fi, just like wireless networks, right? Where are you getting your knowledge from the internet? If you weren't connected to anything, you would just have the knowledge that's on your phone. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're connected to the servers that are out there bringing you, the internet and so on like that. It's the same setup with human beings. There's a server out there that you're connected to, the frequency. The closer you are with the frequency, the less distortion you are in between. And I can liken this to a Bluetooth receiver. The further you go away from, say, the Bluetooth source, it gets, your music or whatever
Mm.
you're have, it gets sketchy, right? And then at some point, you go too far and it just, you die basically. There's no connection and literally people die. So basically what I'm saying is like, let's create like 5, 10 bar signal strength to your true source. And that's where confidence comes really in. It's the frequency or the Wi-Fi that you're connected to, okay, that gives you confidence.
Mm.
And this is where you can push your potential, and this is where you can push and go beyond the limitations that you inherited from your parents, like diseases and you know self-abuse patterns and all those things that people have that we resolve through XI.
I like the example of like the analogy of like a Bluetooth speaker and yeah, like the further away you are from that, like I've got AirPods on right now, but if I'm away from my laptop or my phone, like there's no frequency or very minimal and it's not going to work. The same, it sounds like the same is for your confidence. The closer you are to that frequency, to the servers,
Mhm.
the natural servers out there, the more
Exactly.
yeah, the more energy you're going to feel, the more confidence you're going to feel. Okay,
Exactly.
got you.
So self-esteem, confidence is basically how many bars do you have
Mm,
connected to that? And again, and this is where the distortion comes in, Johnny. This is where people go, well, it's God, it's some spiritual meaning. It's really not. It's just straight out science, guys. We've attached all these distorted meanings to that, but there is a science on how we get connected. Simple as that. Outside of all those, say, weird definitions or frou-frou definitions, there is an absolute science, and that's what, again, XI is about. So, you're born with self-worth, amazing self-worth, but then over time it was distorted, by your timeline, what you've gone through, traumas, survival programs, and you just keep. So trauma. So like you're connected, right? You've got like 10 bars, let's say, right off the bat when you're born, basically giving you, say, self-worth beyond any mention of physical form. Because again, you're infant, but you have amazing self-worth. Is that kind of crazy?
that's
You
awesome.
don't know what money is. You don't know what talent is. You don't know what intellect is. But why do young people have so much self-worth? Think of
Mm,
it. That's what this worth or confidence that you're looking at. But then over time, trauma happens and you just keep going further and further away, and the signal strength gets weaker and weaker for you. And
mm,
then what people try to do is like, well, I'll make a hell of a lot of money and I'll be confident. Johnny, how many people do you know that have a hell of a lot of money and that aren't that confident?
mm.
I
Yeah,
have
there's a
really,
lot.
I work with, high level clients, and it's like they come to me and they lack confidence, and they've created billion-dollar brands, but study up on highly successful people, and you'll see that they're fucked up. I don't know if I can say that on your show,
Yeah,
but
yeah, you can. Yeah, yeah.
they're messed up. And so I was like, you know,
Yeah, it's like if you got an example, someone who's maybe like a six, seven figure earner, making a lot of money, but they're really not feeling good about themselves and who they are. It's because they've got all these maybe like traumas and things like that that's keeping them away from
Yeah.
that server that you're talking about, and therefore their frequencies blocked, but they're not probably aware of all that, and instead they're over here
Yeah.
trying to fix it by making more money or getting more fame or something else.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the confidence trap, that many people fall into, where basically, many people are it's like performing confidence, you know, because they perform confidence that this, but they're still in fear. Like again, I, have many clients that are, quietly wealthy and then also famous people. And, they perform confidently when they're on stage. Like, let's take a look at Michael Jackson.
Mm,
He was amazing on stage. Personally, he was shyer than you wouldn't believe. He couldn't talk to the camera, right? Does that make sense to you?
yeah.
So what we
Sports
do
people, yeah, sports people, athletes, cases as
is
well. In some cases, yeah.
exactly is like they create an alter identity for themselves. And that's what, most of what confidence, say, building ideas, ideologies, and so on, motivational, that's what they do is like, well, you just create another version of yourself out here and you let this version, in the on the back end. But this gets dangerous because the more this version grows, the more you hate the actual version of who you are.
Mm.
That makes sense for you
That
because
does make sense, yeah.
you know what I mean? You don't want to identify with, say, the weak version that you're trying to hide.
Mm.
Okay. Um, yeah. So that becomes like toxic, as I call it, toxic confidence, where, it's literally survival strategy. And that's all you're doing. It's a survival strategy in disguise. And where, the next thing, the next act, the next $1 million, the next person I, date, it's always the next thing in that situation. And the older you get, the slipperier the slope it happens for you. So, this is why, again, maybe back in the day, say 1 million would have, satisfied you and you're confident. But as you age, it's like, shit, it's not making me confident. I need 1 billion now. And you see it in like Elon Musk, you see it in all those people. I mean, they're highly intelligent, but they still have to keep conquering things. Right? Many men do that. They keep conquering, say, younger women, for example, right? Because
Mm.
again, value is based on, or their self-esteem is based on, say, attractive things, cars, money, women. They don't have value on the inside. They lack it. So they
Mm.
have to control it on the outside.
Mm. Absolutely, I can resonate with that. Being completely externally driven, like in my in twenties, it was like confidence was based entirely on achievement, not from who I was inside, and that's kind of what got me into my journey. So, I can totally resonate with that, and you sharing that, rather than
Totally.
going into some of the things that are actually blocking me. It's still a journey, of course, still on it, but I love what you're saying here about the toxic confidence and that word.
And Johnny, when you start to delete, like I was saying, through frequency work, when you start to delete who you're not, well, you're peeling away those layers that you're trying to hide. So, and again, most people try to hide who they are, and then create a version here. But when you start to delete, there's no hiding. You glow even more. That confidence comes in through you. You don't have to wear, say, people who fake their confidence. I mean, they look great. They have the right suit, they have the right car, they have the right whatever. But this is the confidence that I'm talking about, where, say I can walk into a room and it's like people, I don't have to say anything, and people go, "Who the hell is that?" And I've walked in a room of like billionaires. I'm no billionaire, by the way, but people look at me as like, "Shit, who's that guy?"
Mm.
And then you gravitate. So this is really good for, like CEOs, successful, or people who want to become successful. That confidence, internal confidence that you have will get you a better job, career. It'll help you in if you're an entrepreneur type, because that's the kind of confidence that you need, not not external confidence, but you gotta have, say, the balls to go forward, and that's basically the connection to your power source.
Mm. It's kind of always sounds like ironic in a way for me that like right you're not you're gonna get it more, you're gonna get that attention more when you're not chasing it because you've been working on the peeling back the
Mhm.
layers and being honest with yourself and really going for them.
Yep, absolutely. And if you're at that level of confidence, you know, uh, and I totally agree with Einstein, if you're resonating, and again, the word frequency comes in, if you're resonating at a specific frequency, you'll attract that frequency physically as well. So if you're resonating at confidence and self-worth here, you're going to attract the right relationships, the right career, the right life situations, automatically for you. There's still work, obviously,
Mm.
but again, it's like that's true manifestation for you.
Mm. But peeling back the sort of like the layers and someone maybe in that spot they've discovered your work or someone else, they're like, there's so many things I know I need to unblock now, and I'm not going to go down this route of trying to prove myself or hit the next achievement, but they're like willing to unblock some of the things. Is it like, is it kind of, maybe asking the obvious question here, but is it kind of like different for each individual on what they've got to do to kind of unblock those
It
things, or
is.
is?
Yeah, it is because, people have different, different, say, settings or different experiences that they've come through. But
Mm,
the pattern is literally the same, though.
okay.
Basically, what you're doing is you want more signal strength. So you know, how do you get to have higher signal or closer to your source? Basically.
Mm,
So that's only one way. And even Jesus said, there's only one way, not the religious Jesus, but the man, Jesus. There's only one way, right? Again, basically what he was saying is like you get closer to the signal strength, right? You get closer to, again, that server that's out there that's creating who you are here. So you get closer to that, and a lot of things peel away. So most people, and this is where, you know, I guess emotional healing isn't really enough for people because that's what they do. I need to emotionally heal, but what they do is they emotionally heal on the at a brain level. So
mm,
so think of it this way, you're sending that server is always sending out vibes to who you are. That's your identity that you're trying to hide or mask with
mm,
riches, people, beauty, all that stuff, right? Intelligence, all that. So what you're doing is basically going, you're feeling that vibe and you're going, I don't like this. I'm going to change it here at a conscious level, at a brain level. But what I'm saying is like, wait a second, why don't we help you access the actual server level or that intelligence that created you before, you had a brain? Let's access that. So the vibe literally is wave coming through. So there's nothing for you to change because true healing happens at the source, not again, the effect. So a lot
mm,
of people say heal the effect, through psychology, healing, and whatever that's out there, but they don't say heal the cause, the underlying reason on why stuff happened the way it did.
mm,
So if we can access, say, the beginning or the source of, say, the patterns that you're running, then you can naturally heal. And this is where when you access that level, you're not healing yourself. You just start to remember. It's like, wait a second, I'm a complete person. And then your mindset changes and it's like, oh, I don't need to heal. I can just grow from that experience.
mm,
So in a lot of times, even like rape and trauma and murder and people, clients that I've worked with, they start to see that experience as a growth experience. Not and again, you can't change what happened to you because that's a physical timeline, but what you've, say, attached to that, it could either be devastating for you or you can learn from that experience so it never happens to you again.
mm,
And that's what we do here. So again, you can do years of like emotional work and and still loop, literally the same patterns over and over again. That's what people do, right?
mm.
They keep healing their emotional patterns. they keep burying, like say a Tony Robbins type mindset. Basically, even Tony, they keep burying. He keeps burying those distorted patterns, and you can see it in his health and and how he teaches. But basically, we have a lot of clients from Tony Robbins. That's why. So basically, they them is like, okay, you're broken here, but you're a gladiator on the outside.
Mm.
Focus on the gladiator, but this thing gets bigger and bigger, if that makes sense to you.
Mm.
So we
Yeah,
just go,
totally.
let's just take a step back, heal the core level of who you are, and then everything else works better. And then Tony's teachings actually work really, really well. Right?
Mm. Just like you said, it's sort of in like complementary. Saying those good things about yourself is, I feel is good, but it's like if you're pushing away the underlying thing, you just
Yeah,
gotta keep those keep those patterns, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so in this case, Johnny, self-worth is to me, it's an operating system. Literally, it's not a feeling, in that operating system, nobody basically showed you how to recalibrate. So once you recalibrate it, your self-worth just flows through.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know why this shows up, but an extreme version of this, okay, on people, what people try to do is people who have eating disorders. Again, I'm working with eating disorders. So say that person, you know, they're thin in bones, right? They're like literally look like Holocaust victim, but they look in the mirror, and no matter what you say, and no matter what you say to them, it's like, honey, you're thin in bones. They look in the mirror and they go, no, I'm fat,
Mm.
because they have an identity. And this, I don't know why, again, maybe there's some people in your audience that might have these eating disorders, or they might have had eating disorders in the past. So that identity is basically what I'm talking about. So other people see them as skinny, they see themselves as fat, and they literally, and those two say clash, if that makes sense. So you can tell yourself, I'm worthy, I'm this, I'm that, but at a frequency level, when you look in the mirror, and that's why most people don't look right straight in the mirror in their eyes, whether they're shaving, putting on makeup, just try it once. Just that's what you're sending out. And this is like, oh, I'm confident, I'm this. And you look in the mirror and it's like, no, you're not,
Mm.
because that identity has to be resolved back here. Does that make sense? That
Yeah,
example? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So XI is basically allowing you to go back and again resolve that identity. And it's pretty easy because that identity that's created is not yours.
Yeah,
You didn't have, say, the free will to choose that identity. It was just like given to you by your parents, generational patterns and so on.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, and is there some case in the work you do where you're looking at timelines before your own life began,
Oh,
generational?
yeah, that's actually one of my gifts. I can tap into anybody and see your algorithms. I'm not, say, like a psychic. I don't see, oh, your dog was named this and all that stuff. But basically, literally, like, and we all have these abilities, by the way. But through near death, I can see your algorithms or the patterns of how you render your life,
Oh
and
wow,
then resolve the algorithms. Yeah, and those algorithms go way back into, like, say, previous lifetimes or generational patterns, right? The
yeah,
traumas, say, that your great great grandparents had are traumas that you are experiencing in different form. By the way, that's, if you want, no offense, but that's basically you. So
mm,
that
got you.
that's your pattern, Johnny. You are trying to heal somebody else's traumas.
Yeah,
Does that
yeah,
make sense?
it's not yours. Yeah, yeah, it can come from many years down the line,
Yep.
generations. Yeah, that's what you're
Exactly.
saying.
And there's plenty of proof on that. People who've gone through, famine, uh, five generations down, their stomachs are bloated and stuff, like, and they eat fine, but it's like that pattern of famine. is expressing itself, although there's no famine to be had at this generation. Again, that's specifically for you, Johnny. You're basically trying to clean up traumas that were never yours.
Mm.
You can never do that because they're not yours. So it's just like trauma, over and over again. Uh, so that's the level that we get to.
Oh wow, quite a deep level. And just want to touch on like one final thing, and we kind of talked about it a little bit again, and you did touch on like the whole
Yeah.
like it kind of links to the whole affirmations thing. So say, I think most human beings would be in agreement that ideally they'd like to be in this loving, joyful place, like more
Mhm.
often than not.
Yeah.
And to get there, like one might be in traditional sort of like personal growth and this stuff, be in a state of like love and be in a state of joy as much as you can and trying to push yourself. But in this kind of line of work, is what you're saying that actually that's like naturally who we are, but it's like the blocks, it's about getting through the blocks to get back there.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and most people, they're trying to build confidence, but they're not really building confidence. They're just building a better mask,
Mm,
you know. So people kind of go, well, you want to be in a state of love and
mm,
bliss. But then, to me, I would ask you is like, wait a second. Let's define what love is to you. Okay.
mm,
So, and again, it's not pure love. It's not, the first principle definition of love. It's your, say, distorted definition. Because most love, and to define love, look, I know you have a certain expectation of what love should be, but how has love treated you back in the day as a child, as intimate, as a friend, and so on like that? Does that make sense? So,
yeah.
do you have to say sacrifice yourself to be loved or feel love? So the more joyous or the more love you want, the more sacrifice you'd have to give. So do you want to be in that state of love? Does that make sense to
Yeah.
you? Being a good person. It's like everybody wants to be a good person, but define a good person.
Mm,
In today's good person definition, it's horrid. I would never want to be that definition of a good person. Basically, it's like, you know what? I'm going to shortchange myself to help others.
mm,
So, how many people can you really help in that sense?
mm,
That's not the right definition. That's not what nature uses. A better definition of being a good person is literally like, wait a second, you see somebody that needs help, and you ask, is like, wait a second, am I running a complementary or mere pattern of them? And then you figure out why you're running that program or frequency, as I call it, and delete it.
mm,
And as you delete it, you give them the solution as well, and you help them. But in most cases, people who have been a good person frequency, you get abused, you get taken advantage of, you don't get the credit, people blame you for their problems.
mm.
So that's the kind of definition of a good person. So you know what I mean? So as a society, we have to redefine what love is. Again, love is forsaking yourself for the benefit of others.
Mm.
That's not true love because how much can you forsake of yourself before you go, fuck, I've had enough? This is where you get angry people when people get old, they get angry. They probably had those kind of definitions. It's like, hey, what about me now?
Hmm.
Okay.
Makes a
So,
lot of
so
sense.
again, if you're going to do that, define those words first or ask is like, how, what has my definition of love, what has that created in my life for me? And then start to search for a different definition.
Mm.
Yeah.
Being clear,
Writing
being clear.
books. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying being clear. It sounds like being clear on what you
Exactly.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to be scientific about it. It's like, well, if you want love, well, define love. It can't be a variable, you know. And you can like ask is like, you go see your parents. Go back in the day and go, how did my parents define love? How was I loved? Was it love that the hand that feeds you also abuses you? This is where a lot of women get in trouble, right? Because they've attached love to abuse. So they'd have to have abusive uh, people in their lives to feel loved. So is that the kind of love that this reality needs?
Mm.
So
Consciously
those are
being.
the key questions we have to ask ourselves.
Some key questions and becoming conscious of it.
Yeah.
Masati, I know there's like so much more you offer out there in terms of going into depth with more of this work for really people to go through and unblock these things. I know you were just leading a frequency class before we started talking, which is awesome. But yeah, before we sort of like wrap up today, where can the listener find you if they want to find out more about this work, potentially get some support for themselves?
Yeah.
And also, is there maybe a final point you want to leave us with today, whether that's something we've talked about or something else you feel would be beneficial?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, one, they can reach me at thexicode.com. So thexicode.com. There's plenty of programs on there. If you just sign up for the newsletter, there's actually a sample hyper meditation. And hyper meditations, I forgot to explain, hyper meditations are more than just meditations, not just feel good. Basically, I get you into, say, deep states. Even if
Mm,
you're an avid meditator, I can pull you into deep states through the frequency work that we create. And in those deep states, you're so present that you can allow yourself to peel away, what you're not. Um, and then we can help you reprogram on who you truly are. So there's a free hyper meditation there for you. There's also programs that you can do. One's coming up is Know Thyself. It's a really great product for this. It's coming up live for you, I think mid-August. I'm not exactly sure. It's on the website. It's a 10-day hyper meditation program. Within those 10 days, you can radically transform. But again, the key word is like, if you know thyself, you be complete confidence and you heal that what you're not. So um, there's a lot of information because frequency work is new to people. Even like I work on quantum computers and so on, creating coherence, because that's what I was talking about earlier with humans. You need coherence or stability, right? Quantum computers and AI suffer from the same illness as humans. They don't have stability. Neither does AI, because AI replicates human patterns. Quantum computers, they don't know how to say stabilize electrons. So my system actually is proven to stabilize quantum computers, AI. So that's how powerful it is. Because we're all running the same program, the same system. We just think we're different because we're human or biological. Anyway, that getting way too deep into the science. I thought you'd like that because you're more, sciencey type. So I thought.
yeah, definitely.
Um, but if you go to Masati, Masati.live, Masati.live, that's my YouTube channel. There's so much free content there, guys. Every week, I talk about, basically why things are the way they are and then what you can do to resolve them. So on that. And again, it's free content for you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. No, thank you, Ms. Sati. No, I appreciate you coming on today, and I know there's a lot of great value you're giving the world, so we'll be sure to put those in the show notes below. So a massive thank you for everything you shared today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I just, as we on, John, I just, self-esteem isn't really about thinking you're good enough. It's really about finally being the you that was never broken.
Mm,
That's what, self-esteem is about. Just remembering who you absolutely were.
coming back rather
Yep.
than needing to add something to feel good enough. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, no, I appreciate the conversation today and your input. So that concludes today's episode. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.